Frederick Vosgrone has turned out to be an overnight sensation in the world of MMA ever since his last fight. This guy has everything, a BJJ phenom. He has a killer physique with tremendous charisma and strength that reminisces of a Marvel movie character, and then comes his characteristic evil laughter. His crazy superhuman level strength and BJJ mastery will be a big plus for any fighter. Many would love to see this viral sensation in the UFC to bring eyeballs to the game, and he isn't the only one. We've seen many unusual fighters in MMA who are celebrities but are not particularly recognized for their fighting skills. So why don't these celebrities fight in the UFC? Why doesn't Dana sign them up? Can't this size and strength be a big factor in the UFC? Let's dive deep and explore the reason behind it in this video. First things first, the UFC is all about skill. Sure, being a human tank is cool and all, but if you can't throw hands, defend a takedown, or survive a submission, you're just a big punching bag. The Octagon isn't a bodybuilding contest, it's a fight. And not just any fight, it's the highest level of mixed martial arts. So not every fighter fits the mold. Over the years, we've seen some absolute behemoths and freak show fighters lighting up the game in smaller promotions, especially in places like Japan and Eastern Europe. I'm talking about monsters like Frederic Vosgrone, Eddie Hall, Mariusz Pudzianowski, Gabi Garcia, Kimbo Slice, and others. These fighters bring their hype with their freak bodies and social media following to wherever they go. MMA hasn't always been the polished UFC product we see today. Back in the day, especially in the early 2000s, Japan's Pride FC was running the game and they loved their freak shows. These were fights where skill took a backseat to straight up spectacle. Think massive bodybuilders, strongmen, or street fighters squaring off in the Japanese arenas. Today, this tradition is kept alive by promotions like Ryzen and KSW. These events weren't just about MMA, they were a wild mix of chaos, drama, and a little bit of fighting in between. But why aren't they in the UFC? Why can't we see them fight in the Octagon? So let's take a look at some of these behemoths and check out why they aren't cut out for the top level. Let's start with the most viral of them all, Frederic Vosgrone, the BJJ phenom with a freak show of strength. He's the latest in this category, but he went viral overnight after his first fight in Octagon MMA. He's a BJJ black belt standing at 6'3" tall and weighing about 230 pounds. He is a specimen of pure muscle and made waves with his previous fight, calling out the champ Will Fleury after a slick finish. He can finish his opponents with plenty of his submissions, all the while looking like a bodybuilder, but why no UFC? For one, he's mostly fought in smaller promotions, often in freak show style matchups. But the UFC wants fighters with consistent wins against top talent, plus his style leans too much on grappling, and his striking is untested. In the UFC's middleweight division, guys like Sean Strickland would light him up on the feet before he could even shoot. And then we have the wrestling phenoms like Hamzat, who would take him down for fun. If you want my take, I'd say Frederic looks like a single-skilled specialist who might survive in the UFC, but he'd need a lot of striking in his arsenal for that. Otherwise, he's just a freak show novelty. Eddie Hall. Remember this dude deadlifted 1,102 pounds once? That's monstrous, over half a ton. And set a new world record in 2016. But when it comes to MMA, he hasn't done something that speaks to his fighting skills. He made headlines with a viral 2 vs 1 fight where he knocked out 2 guys in a freak show event. That sounds impressive, right? But hold on. Those 2 guys, the Nafati brothers, were amateur fighters and both weighed approximately 145 pounds each. Eddie himself weighed in around 360 pounds, and that was one of his lighter days. How about it now? In 2022, he was defeated by fellow world's strongest man, Hafthor Julius Björnsson, in a boxing match that was taglined the heaviest boxing match in history. In April of 2025, he defeated 5-time world's strongest man, Mariusz Pudzianowski, in his mixed martial arts debut. So he has experience in fighting big heavy guys, but there's no place for any of that in the Octagon. Do you think he takes on any fighter outside of the top 15 in the UFC heavyweight division? Yeah, he probably can't. And then comes to the fact that he can never make the 265-pound weight limit. The UFC is never about freak MMA fighters. Mariusz Pudzianowski, a legend in the strongman world who won the title 5 times. He turned into an MMA fighter thanks to his Polish MMA giant KSW. Both Pudzian and KSW have been a big hit and have gained massive attention in the Polish market. Thanks to Mariuz's celebrity status and KSW's penchant for freak show fighters, he's been with KSW since the very beginning and has faced off with quite a few noteworthy fighters like Bob Sapp, Tim Sylvia, and James Thompson, among many other freak matchups. Recently, he fought Eddie Hall, who is another strongman transitioning to MMA, as we mentioned. But folks, MMA is a different beast, especially at the level of the UFC. He's been fighting journeymen to amateurs in his career and has a record of 17-10, and no prizes for guessing he's not UFC material. While he's a beast in the gym and those strongman competitions, it doesn't always translate well to the cage. Gabi Garcia. Now hold on, why should men have all the fun in this? Presenting Gabi Garcia. On the outside, she looks like a character from the world of Marvel movies with her big muscles and body build. But don't get fooled by that huge figure. Out of all the ones mentioned in this video, she might have the best shot at cage fighting at the highest level. Gabi was a beast in the BJJ world, literally and figuratively. She won multiple world titles in BJJ and became a Hall of Famer. But when it comes to MMA, she's been more of a sideshow than a contender. She's fought in Ryzen with young pro wrestlers, old grannies, and amateurs. One thing in common all of them have was that they all had little to no experience in the game. So forget the UFC. Women's MMA has come a long way from the one-trick ponies of the game. You need to be well-rounded, and Garcia's striking and cardio have been questionable at best. Kimbo Slice, finally to one who did manage to get a shot in the UFC via the Ultimate Fighter heavyweight season. He got mauled in TUF, and on his UFC pay-per-view debut, Matt Mitrione sent him packing from the UFC. Kimbo Slice was a street fighting legend even before he made it to the octagon. He had the street cred, the charisma, and the knockout power, so why didn't he stick in the UFC? Simple, Kimbo had no ground game. On top, he had the worst cardio. He had nothing to offer that would be a match at the top of the division, so he was cut by the UFC. So your hype might be able to take you to the elite level, but it's all about your performance from there on. So, can we see any freak athlete survive in the UFC? Let's not kid ourselves here. The answer is an obvious no. The UFC is the pinnacle of MMA, and to make it there, you need more than just size and strength. You need technique, cardio, fight IQ, and adaptability. Champions from other big leagues like Bellator, PFL, or ONE have come to the UFC at times and got mauled in the octagon. Look no further than the former 135-pound champ at Bellator, Patchy Mix. Mix was running through the division like a walk in the park. Inside Bellator, no one would even give him a tough time. But on his debut in the octagon, he was dominated by a young contender in Bautista. And he isn't the only one in there. Patchy was the champ, so imagine how hard it would be for these guys who are just trying to enter the UFC based on their build with little talent to showcase. These strongmen and bodybuilders might dominate in their respective fields, but the UFC is a different animal. And unless they have a track record of winning bouts or a good streak in the regional circuit, they're not going to make it in the UFC. The last freak body guy with little to no experience to enter the octagon and make a big splash was Brock Lesnar. But we all knew about his exploits in the American college wrestling circuit. These guys from different sporting backgrounds will come and try to show us how good they are. And don't get me wrong, they might be the best at what they do, but at the pinnacle of the game, they might just be referred to as anything but a serious contender. So there you have it, the UFC isn't just about signing the biggest, strongest guys, it's about signing the best fighters. These characters with freak bodies and wild vibes make them stand out, but nothing more than that. They're either too green, too old, or too one-dimensional for the octagon, but hey, that doesn't mean that they can't have their moment in the spotlight at the center of the cage. I respect their hustle, but again, not in the UFC. So what do you guys think? Could any of these beasts survive in the UFC, or are they better off in freak fight shows? All of these questions abound, so thank you for tuning in, ladies and gents. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Sports Key to MMA for more fight stories and hot takes, and drop your thoughts in the comments section below.